Hello, this is Jaden. Um, I'm here to speak about. Well, matter of fact, well, I just got this new sweatshirt, or I guess hoodie. It says rahway. It says rahway. Um, it's a suburbia in New Jersey where I was raised. I had to go and grab it because obviously that's where I was raised. So it's one of my favorite sweatshirts already. It is. Um, just wanted to throw that out there. Um, I'm spending some time, I guess, by myself while my roommate is gone because I have some things to address with him about him being extremely dirty. So I guess while he's gone, I can make these YouTube videos. And something that's been pressing my mind as of late um, is the irony of social media. Well, it's not. That's like part of the reason, but it's really like cynicism and performative actions, I guess you can say. Um, it's very I think it's a very large issue, but at the same time it's also like a catch 22 in itself if you really delve into it. Um, there's a lot of irony behind it all, right? So I can address it. This will probably be one of the longer videos, I think, because there's a lot of things that go into it, right? So I'm pretty sure I addressed this in almost like every video that I've made thus far. Um, uh, so I transitioned to online school after seventh grade, beginning ninth because I skipped eighth grade. So um, you know, they're not in my room. Um, so I transitioned to online school and I kind of lost all my friends. And I was kind of depressed. Well, not kind of. I was very depressed. I was in or I could just say I was in a rough state of mind. Um, I kind of carried on, but not to an extent where it's like I'm in the same state that I was in 10th grade, because that was a terrible time for me. Um, but, I didn't always hear it, but a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago, um, I read a couple, um, I didn't really read the articles, but I kind of skimmed through it. And there's some statistics that, prove that, like, people mature, quicker when they're in a depressive state of mind. Um, And throughout ninth and 10th grade, when you're all alone and, you're in a rough, and you're kind of depressed, uh, all you really have for yourself is to think for yourself. Think about, think and just really you know, just really go over some things in your mind because you can't really talk to anyone about it, right? So, I was thinking and, I was just really thinking about, what was going on back in the brick and mortar, what I was really doing with my life, as of late, which wasn't much, I wasn't doing anything, right? I was really doing things to get the joy out of others instead of myself, because, there's always been like a thing going around. I kind of see it on social media now. It's like the class clowns always are like the saddest people in the friend group, the people that, get the joy out of others, the people that make jokes so that the others can laugh. Also, I have not put any deodorant on, and I'm afraid that I'm gonna start smelling it soon. So I might have to cut this short. I just got out the shower, so I guess I don't know. That's besides the point. But like I said, the people that make jokes, to let others laugh, usually are like super sad at home. And I didn't really catch on to that until like I said, ninth and 10th grade. I was like, wow, I was the class clown, yet I didn't seem to be happy when I went back home. Um, and I was extremely sad. But as of late, I've been fine because in ninth and 10th grade, once you kind of get that introspection down. Um, you get to really think and explore yourself. Once you start exploring yourself and you really start to uh, make connections, you really start to become who you're supposed to be. That's when that's when, potential starts to expand for you. That's when you truly can, truly become who you're supposed to be, I guess. Um, I can't really I can't really have the terminology for it down yet, because I'm only 17. How far have I expanded, right? I'm not even 20 years old yet. And your brain doesn't fully uh, develop until you're like 21. So what more do I know, right? And again, this isn't new knowledge. I'm not just I'm this isn't new discoveries, right? I'm not Magellan. I'm not Columbus. I haven't made any newfound discoveries. This is just once it hits home, that's when it matters more for you, right? Um. So, anyways, um, as I was becoming more introspective, not intro, because I believe I was just listening to the lecture from a course the other day, and there's like 9 different types of natural intelligences. There's the logical, existential, naturalistic, musical, linguistic, and like 3 others. And introspective is when you get to learn more about yourself. No, intrapersonal is when you get to learn more about yourself, and interpersonal is when you get to like is like the introspection, and when you get to like learn more about others, or like see how they're feeling, right? I think that's what it is. Don't quote me on that. Just take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, right? Because again, I'm 17. What more do I know than the average human? Um, but I believe I started to become more introspective of myself, and more I guess interpersonal with others. I got to like really I can kind of like not see through them, but I can kind of like understand what they're feeling. I guess you can just say I was more empathetic, right? Um, because like I said, once it hits home for you, then it's like you can really understand what others were going through at the same time, right? Um, but as you become more and more alone with yourself, you start to develop like develop like this cynicism, right? Um, and it wasn't necessarily all bad, right? Because a lot of what I kind of had, like a lot of the thoughts that I had just from my intuition, um, which I guess is the thoughts, right? Intuition is kind of your thoughts, your instincts. But a lot of my intuition was kind of correct, right? Um, because I kind of so at the time in ninth and 10th grade, I kind of tapped into social media. I was never really too much of a social media person other than YouTube. Um, and then in ninth and 10th grade, I got Instagram. And I think I got Snapchat, but I didn't use them really. But I got Twitter, and I used Twitter. Because I'm not too much of a photography person. It's really more like I just want to know what the world is feeling, right? And people just do that over text. So Twitter was kind of my thing. And and even through Twitter, people do photography and such. But I didn't really care about that. So through social media is obviously become such of an impact on my generation, like the current generation. Um, but I don't necessarily think in a good way. I genuinely don't. But the irony is, I'm gonna still have my Instagram. I'm gonna still have my Twitter, right? Um, and that's the irony of it all. I can say all of these bad things about social media, yet I'm still gonna have one. Um, so it's like, what am I really trying to get at, right? Um, I wish I could be exactly like my dad, in the sense that he doesn't have any social media, and he's living his life he's living his best life right now. Um, I didn't sometimes I wish I didn't go to online school, because I never had social media before online school. The only reason I had it was because I guess that was the only way I could connect with others, is through social media. I couldn't connect with my friends because I was never that close with them to begin with. And now that I lost them all, it's like, how am I going to connect back with them, right? So, like I said, I wish sometimes I didn't go to online school. Um, sometimes I just wish I stayed in the brick and mortar. Because I could be lonely in the brick and mortar, yet surround myself with others, I guess, rather than surround myself with the whole entire world, knowing that a lot of the things that they did is just performative, right? I mean, that's like both options aren't necessarily the greatest, but I guess in life you kind of have to compromise, right? Nothing will ever always go your way. Um, you're gonna have to take compromise here and there. Um, but like as I was saying, um, I got Twitter and such. I did end up using Instagram, not too much though. But from what I saw, a lot of it, putting my intuition into practice, I understood that a lot of this was just performative, especially within these latter months of 2020, or no, the former months of 2020. Um, a lot of the stuff about COVID, George Floyd, rest in peace. I'm sorry, I'm a little sniffly here, but a lot of this was just performative because so I started using Instagram again a lot more once the COVID stuff started happening because it reminded me of online school. I came back, we came back into our own houses. We started getting taught through Zoom classes and such, so I kind of stopped seeing my friends in real life, and I kind of had to just live through online school again, right? So it's like I started using Instagram, and now it's become one of my biggest outlets to see what other people are doing. I kind of use it more than Twitter, I think, at this point. But again, as I was saying, so during the incident of George Floyd's, he got murdered. He actually just got murdered. There's nothing that can say otherwise. Um, and I can't believe that the cop that actually killed him was put. Um, he's free now. Like that's, it just shows that we live in white America. This country is not free. It's free for the white man and the white man only. Not even all white women are safe, right? But it's the white people's country, and that's just fact. That's just actual fact. Yes, there are black people, there are people of color that succeeded in America, but they had to overstep so many boundaries, and that was a risk in itself, right, to get where they are now. But regardless, that's a whole another topic. Um, as I was saying, George Floyd, a lot of people put up. I don't understand the trend in it, but people put up black squares to not cope with his death. But it was like as a protest type thing. Um, and I never understood why. Like no one really uh delved in or dove into why that was the case. But I saw a lot of black squares, and I was like, okay, well, I guess the world is actually kind of converging onto one way to actually kind of protest for his untimely death. Um, I guess it didn't really do anything, but I guess it kind of showed how the world reacted. Um, but then, like minutes later, I saw the same people that put up the black squares, then they post a highlight of themselves, right? And it's like it doesn't seem correct, right? Like a man just passed away due to injustice, and then hours later, you post a picture of yourself. Like you may post a picture of yourself, and it may be of good reason, but in another person's eyes, it just seems like you did that just for performative action, like as if it was a trend. And it was a trend. It wasn't even. I don't even think it was a good trend, to be honest, because it wasn't. It didn't do anything. It kind of, it was just sort of. I feel like it was just kind of. It was political, but at the same time, it wasn't like. I don't know. I don't think it showed a good response. I don't think there was a good response, right? I think like the things that they do on change.org where they like sign petitions and they actually make change. I think that's good. I think, politicians that say these things, I hope they act on it. Are good change. Again, I hate talking about politics, but that's also the thing. Like people love to put their politics up on social media. And it's like if you know where you stand, if you know where you stand yourself, in politics, that's perfectly fine. But if you put it out there for others to see, that's going to create backlash in any shape, way, or form, right? So it's like if you yourself know where you stand, why put it out there? And you may think it's for good reason, but again, ignorance is bliss. I'd rather because I bet there's you know, it's like people are people. I bet there's family members that are Trump supporters. I'd rather them not tell me, you know, because I can still love them. If you tell me, then I'm gonna look at you in a wrong way, which I shouldn't, because I shouldn't judge people based on their politics. But at the same time, that's just a human response. So it's like, you do the same stuff on social media, I'm gonna look at you different, regardless of, even if I agree with your politics. It's like, why would you do it? Like, what is the plan of action there? What are you trying to get? What response are you trying to get out of people? Are you trying to get people to argue with you, or, you know, like, what's the plan of action? You know, and I know that people consider themselves activists. Um, you know, and again, this is my take on, you know, this is me being cynical, extremely cynical, and I know it's not correct all the time. It's just my perspective. I know people are activists, or they consider themselves activists, but continually posting something that isn't new knowledge. um I mean, it may be new knowledge to some people, but it's like, it's kind of like what LeBron James does, right? Like, he'll post a picture of himself, or people will post pictures of him reading the Malcolm X autobiography, but then they continue to ask him questions about it, and then he'll be like, um well, I'm only 8 pages in. It's like, well, why would you allow them to post a picture of you reading the Malcolm X biography as if you're super into it, as if you're super knowledgeable into it, but yet you're only 8 pages in, because you just did that only for the picture purposes. You didn't do that because you're actually trying to learn something. You did that out of performative action, right? Um, you know, and it's like, I'd personally rather people do it so that they get a personal gain out of it, not so that they do it so that they can get a reaction out of others, you know? Because that was the life I lived, you know? And now it's like, I'm truly only doing things for me. Like, this YouTube stuff is only for me. I know that the one video that I made about, you know, the influences in my career thus far has a bunch of views on it. It has like 25 views. I'll keep it a bug. I watched the video 8 times. You know, a third of those views are mine. You know, I know a lot of the views are my family. I don't condone my family to watch this, because this is for me. This is the technological time capsule that I make in 2020 to watch back in 2040 to see what I was doing at 17. Right? I don't. It's not that I don't watch how to watch it, but it's like, it's not for you. I'll be honest. It's not for y'all. Um, it's for me. I consider this success for myself, because it's open therapy. Um, and, you know, these are just I guess these are my moral politics, I guess you can call it. Because I don't care for American politics, because it's all biased anyways to rich whites. It's not in any way, shape, or form catered towards any person of color, because we're not the majority. Politics are always going to be shaped to the majority of people, which happen to be whites. I should say white people, because whites kind of sounds offensive. But, you know, it's not towards us. So it'll never be towards us until, you know, stuff happens, I guess. I don't know. I don't know the science. I don't know the political science behind it, nor do I want to. Because, again, ignorance is bliss. Curiosity is what killed the cat. You know, the cat didn't have to know it, and then he got ran over by a car, I guess. I don't know. Um, you know, I'm just talking to talk at this point. But regardless, you know, uh, cynicism, I feel like in a way is very it's very good to have, right? Because if you start to feel empathy, you can feel empathy in another way, right? You can feel empathy. Um, you can feel like you can understand what people are feeling, but at the same time, you can kind of know people's intentions, right? And, you know, my mother used to tell me, you know, sometimes the way that people react, their intentions may not be the same of how they react. Like, they can react in a different way, but their intentions may have been good from the jump, right? Um, you know, I understand that. It's just people's intentions may not be good, and that's just because of the generation we live in, where, again, people only post the highlights to their social media, where then when people like me see the highlights, it's like, wow, that's the life they're living 100% of the time. Where, people, again, like me, I make videos about the lowlights in my life, and it's like, again, that's not the compromise that I want, where people just post lowlights all the time, because you post lowlights and then people think you're depressed 100% of the time. I'm I can't say I'm not depressed. Well, I can say that I'm not depressed. I may be going through a rough patch, but I'm nowhere mentally where I was when I was 13, 14 years old. I am nowhere like, wow, that's crazy. I was 14 3 years ago. That's besides the point. But I'm nowhere mentally I'm nowhere mentally uh how I was in ninth and 10th grade. I'm nowhere near that anymore. I may be going through rough patches, but I know I can get through it if I got through it in when I was 12, 13, right? Um, but it's people use social media for, I feel like, the wrong purposes, and I'm generalizing. I'm extremely generalizing because I say people as in every single person in the world, right? But it's social media is a very, very tricky place to comprehend. Social media is um it's a very complex thing to understand. I mean, you can look at it just from at face value, people just posting pictures of the times they're having fun, of the highlights in their life, right? But you look at people having fun in their life and you're like, why am I not having fun in my life? And then it makes you feel down on yourself. Um, it kind of makes you sad. But it's like, because that's just the human response in all of us, right? Like, it's kind of the same reason why when someone hiccups, or not when we hiccup, when someone is it hiccup? It's some is it sneezing? It's either hiccups, sneezing, or burping. No, it's yawning. It's yawning. It's like when someone yawns, you yawn as well, because it's the human response. It's like, I actually read up on this. It's like, um when someone yawns, it's because it looks like they're trying to gasp for more air. So then we kind of do it not intuitively. We kind of do it indirectly, I guess. We kind of do it indirectly because we kind of want more air ourselves, right? Um, it's very interesting, really. I might have to read up on that again because I may not be getting my facts straight, but it's something along those lines. We're trying to get what they're having, right? And that's the same thing with social media. Like, you see a guy hanging out with his friends. Like, I want to hang out with friends now as well. Um, but it's like, if that's all you're posting, I'm gonna think that's what you're doing, at every time in your life, at all times of the day, and it's like, that's cool and all, but at the same time, people posting lowlights is gonna make people feel like, wow, well, he may be depressed all the time, right? So it's a very tricky place to try and compromise in. It's a very tricky place to try to understand. Um, it's, I may be looking at it, I may be thinking too hard on this, but it's like, this is just what I'm taking. This is my take on it. And again, I'm only 17 years old. Like, how much do I know, really? Um, it's it's a very tricky place. Um, but what I can say as fact is that, social media. What I can say is, it's just a fact. Um, if I think if you want to live a better life, I think it's better to just not be on social media at all, right? Because I look at people like my grandfather. I mean, he has a Facebook, but I know he doesn't use it because he told me he doesn't use it, and I don't even think he knows what Twitter or Instagram is. um, he's living like, he finds himself in a perfect, position every time I talk to him, right? I mean, he may have like actual health issues, but mentally, I think he's perfectly fine, right? He speaks to me almost every day, and we talk, we chat, um, and it's like, he's perfectly fine. I speak to my dad. I just spoke to him the other day, 2 days ago, about how annoying my roommate is. But regardless of that, he I think he has a Facebook. He might use it a little bit, but other than that, he doesn't have anything else. Um, he barely goes on the Facebook. He barely actually texts. Like, he still writes letters. Like, that's insane to me. Like, we're living in 2020, and this man still uses like pencils. That's insane to me. But um, he's like an old head. He's an old head at 40. What is he, like 44? And he's living his best life, right? Like, people like I'd strive to be those people, because it's kind of like what I was talking about in the ignorance is bliss video. Like, once you kind of know a little bit about the subject, now you want to delve completely into it. So I went on Instagram for a little while, and now here I am completely into it every single day of my life, and it's like, I wish that never happened. I took a little time for Twitter. I'm on it every day now. It's like, it's better to not be on it at all rather than to go on it once, right? I'm not about to compare it to smoking, because social media can affect you in a health manner. I don't think, at least I don't think so. Meanwhile, smoking actually can, but I think it has the same principle to it, right? Like, you smoke one cigarette, and it's like, now you going 2-3 packs a day, right? Um, I don't know the amount people smoke. I think I don't know. My father stopped smoking a while back. It's amazing. I'm glad he did that. It's stuff like that that I really appreciate, because it's like, I really wish to be like that. I really wish to, I guess, it's, I don't know. It's stuff like that that, really, I really strive to, become, like someone who could just stop. I guess social media is a vice for me, right? And I wish to cut off all my vices. Um, it's tricky. It's a very tricky subject. And like I said, the irony is that I'm sure directly after this video, I'm gonna check my Instagram. I'm sure directly after this, I'm gonna check my Instagram, Twitter, all sorts of stuff. But it's like I said, ignorance is bliss, right? Sometimes you just don't need to know what's going on in the world. Sometimes you may not need to know about the American politics. Um, Sometimes you just may not need to care about what others are thinking other than yourself, because you're the most important person to yourself. Um, I mean, other than family members, I guess. But even still, I mean, live your own life. Don't live your life based on others. Live your life based on yourself. What you consider success, once you achieve it, you achieve it. That's success to you. Um, don't base your success off others. Don't live your life off others. Live your life off yourself. Um, sometimes you may not need friends because others are lonely, or because others have friends. Because you can hang out with others, and turns out they're nothing like you, or there's nothing that's good about, well, not nothing good about them, but that they're people that you just don't want to hang around with, right? Um, sometimes it's just better to be introspective, I guess. Sometimes it's just better to really just think about stuff, right? Um, and I feel a yawn coming on, and it's reaching 29 minutes. I was really speaking to myself for almost 30 minutes. That's quite some time. Um, but that's really all I had. Social media is just, it's not a cancer. I won't say it's a cancer, but it can be very dangerous. It can be very, very dangerous. Um, the even crazier irony is that I'm gonna post this to social media, which happens to be my YouTube. Um, it's a dangerous place, but you know, it could also be very, very um, helpful place. Um, all right, I just got an email. I'm pretty sure I have class soon. I'm kind of like half tired. I'm kind of sleepy. So that's really all I had for today. It's 30 minutes right now, so I'm gonna get off. And again, just take what I say with a grain of salt. Other people that watch this, for you, Jaden, these are your thoughts. Just get them out there. Have a good day.